My daughter finally opened the farm-to-table restaurant she had always dreamt of after quitting her job at the bank. When I visited the restaurant on the day of her big opening party, I noticed her standing there by herself, looking sad. Sam canceled the 30-person reservation for her old coworkers who were scheduled to join her in celebrating today. Tears clouded her eyes and her voice wavered as she said, "Something snapped inside of me at that very instant." I hastily picked up my phone and dialed the bank where she had formerly worked. "Get Mr. Iverson, the president of the bank, on the phone right now." My heart began to burn with rage. "You can call me Keith Ashford. I'm enjoying a carefree second chapter of my life after taking an early retirement. Since my wife passed away more than 10 years ago, my daughter Macy has been my only relative. My greatest happiness in life has come from seeing Macy pursue her goals. She gave me an unusual phone call this morning. "Hello, Dad. I need a favor. Is that okay?" "Of course. What's up?" "Can you come with me to check out a property? I have the day off and really want you to see it with me." "Oh, did you find a good one?" "Yes, a restaurant property just became available. The location is great, and I won't have to do much remodeling." "That sounds perfect." "Okay, I'll get ready. Give me a few minutes." I hung up and started getting ready to head out. Opening a restaurant was not just Macy's dream, it was also my late wife's. Seeing Macy take steps toward realizing that dream brings me immense happiness. I met up with Macy in front of the property. "Dad, over here." Macy waved enthusiastically, flashing a radiant smile. "Thanks for coming, Dad. If it's your request, there's no reason for me to refuse." "So, this is the property you mentioned over the phone?" "Yep, it's in a quiet area, but the location is accessible, and there's a farm nearby. Isn't it great?" "It sure is. All right, let's check it out. You got the key from the realtor, right?" "Yep, let's go in." Macy unlocked the door and stepped inside, and I followed her in. The scent of wood gently filled the air. Wow, this is pretty nice. The space was small but cozy, with a warm wooden interior that left a strong impression. "So, this was a restaurant before?" "Exactly. The previous owner retired because of age, so it recently became available." "I see. It does have an older feel, but that adds charm. It's well maintained and clean." I ran my hand over the counter, testing its sturdy build. "The interior looks great. With a few tweaks, you could start business right away." "Do you think so?" "Then I guess I'll go for it." Macy, now standing behind the counter, beamed as she walked toward me. "It's finally happening. I'm going to start my own place. Do you think Mom's watching over me?" "She absolutely is. Macy, she's proud of you, and so am I. Go for it. I've got your back." "Thanks, Dad." Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and her smile was bright. Seeing her like this filled me with pride. After the property tour, we decided to relax at a nearby cafe. As we sipped coffee, memories of the past came flooding back. Macy was in middle school and her mother passed away. Even after being diagnosed with a terminal illness, my wife remained the bright, steadfast center of our family. Her dream was to one day own her own restaurant. Back then, I was just a humble office worker, saving up for her dream by working together as a dual-income household. I did everything I could to make her dream come true. Her dream of having her own restaurant gradually became my dream as well. As a family, we often talked about our dreams, firmly believing that one day they would come true. "Dad, are you okay?" Macy's voice brought me back to the present. Oh, I was just reminiscing, thinking about your mom." I offered a faint smile and sipped my coffee to mask my emotions. Seeing this, Macy smiled gently at me. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll make Mom's dream come true." "Thank you, Macy. She'd be so proud." When Macy was working hard at the local bank to save up for the restaurant, I often offered to help her financially, but she always said, I want to achieve it on my own and refuse my help. So I decided to respect her wishes and just watch over her. Honestly, her stubbornness, when she sets her mind to something, reminds me of myself. You've done so well on your own, Macy. It's thanks to you, Dad. You've always been there for me. I might rely on you more in the future, but when I do, I hope you won't mind. Of course, lean on me anytime. I'd do anything for you. Thanks, Dad. I'm counting on you. Macy nodded with a cheerful smile. Looking at her happy expression, I silently vowed to dedicate the rest of my life to supporting her. Not long after, Macy quit the bank and began preparing earnestly to open her restaurant. In the days leading up to the opening, Macy worked on perfecting her dishes inside the small kitchen. A delightful aroma filled the air. Dad, it's ready. Macy brought out several dishes and placed them in front of me where I was seated at the counter. The main dishes, featuring seasonal vegetables, meats, and seafood sourced daily from nearby farms and markets, included many of the recipes my wife had excelled at. Go ahead, give it a try. Well, it looks flawless. Let's see how it tastes. I reached for the freshly made seafood galette. With the first bite, a nostalgic flavor filled my mouth. How is it, Dad? It's unmistakably your mom's cooking. Really, I'm so glad. Macy let out a sigh of relief and smiled. I couldn't help but smile back. You've recreated Mom's recipes so perfectly, Macy. You're already a great chef. Thank you, Dad. Being able to replicate Mom's cooking makes me so happy. Now that you've given it your seal of approval, I feel confident. Good. Keep cherishing this flavor. Mom would want that. Yeah, I will. And Dad, make sure to come by the restaurant often to eat, okay? Of course. Getting to eat your cooking every day would be the best gift for me. Then I'd better keep improving my skills for you too. Macy laughed a little shyly. In that moment, her smile looked so much like my late wife's. I felt a pang of bittersweet emotion in my chest and took a sip of the wine Macy had prepared to distract myself. Hey, Dad. Him? What is it? Can I have a glass too? Of course. I tilted the bottle and poured wine into the glass Macy held out. We clinked glasses lightly, and Macy took a small sip of the wine. Ah, it's delicious. So, Macy, you finally come to appreciate the taste of good wine. Huh. Of course, Dad. How old do you think I am? No matter how old you get, you'll always be my little girl. Geez, you're always treating me like a kid. Macy pouted slightly, looking mildly annoyed. But I couldn't help it. Even if Macy gets married, has children, and becomes a mother herself, she'll always be my daughter. One day, as the restaurant's opening drew near, I got a call from Macy. Hello, Dad. I need your advice on something. Sure. What's up? Well, what's the best way to handle a big order of ingredients? Do you think it's okay to suddenly change plans with the supplier? What's wrong? Are the current arrangements not enough? Yeah, actually. Macy's voice sounded puzzled yet somewhat light and bouncy. It didn't seem like bad news, so I waited patiently for her to continue. The folks from the bank are throwing a farewell and opening party for me at the restaurant. About 30 people are coming. That's amazing. But with 30 people, you'll have to reserve the whole restaurant. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm thinking of making it a pre-opening event too. That's a great idea. All right, Macy, make a list of the ingredients you'll need, and I'll help negotiate with the supplier. Really? Thanks, Dad. Can you come by the restaurant later? Of course. I'm free today, so I'll head over right away. I hung up and got ready to head to Macy's restaurant. When I arrived and opened the door, Macy greeted me with a big smile. You're quick, Dad. Yeah, so do you have the ingredient list ready? Yep, here's the list, and these are the contacts for the new suppliers I'm planning to work with. Got it. Hang tight for a bit. Taking the list from her, I called the supplier. A friendly-sounding, middle-aged man answered and immediately agreed to the changes without any issues. All set. Macy, the supplier, was very accommodating and said to feel free to reach out if you need anything. That's great. Thanks so much, Dad. Anything else you need help with? I've got the car today, so I can take you wherever you need to go. Really? In that case, could you take me to the store where I want to pick up some kitchen equipment? Of course. Just give me a second. I'll pull the car around. Feeling a sense of purpose in Macy relying on me so much today, I moved my car from the nearby lot to the front of the restaurant. I hummed lightly, and Macy came out, hopping into the passenger seat. Thanks so much for today, Dad. You've been a huge help. Anytime. Your mom's dream of running a restaurant became my dream too, you know. Yeah, then I'll count on you more from now on. Please do. Glancing at Macy's cheerful expression, I began driving slowly. After a while, Macy started giggling softly. Heh. I'm surprised. Surprised by what? Well, the one who told me about the party for my opening and farewell was Sam, my boss. He was always scolding me, so I never expected him to do something like this for me. Macy, your hard work must have paid off. Be grateful and accept it with an open heart. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll give it my all to leave a lasting impression, even on Sam. Yes, I'm rooting for you too, Macy. I felt relieved knowing that Macy seemed to have been fortunate with the people at her previous workplace. Seeing her cheerful smile, I found myself eagerly anticipating the opening day of her restaurant, my heart racing with excitement. And then, the big day finally arrived. Macy, will she be okay? Although Macy had told me beforehand, Dad doesn't have to do anything. I couldn't sit still at home and made a phone call to Macy. After a few rings, Macy, who seemed busy with preparations, answered. Dad, what's wrong? Did something happen? No, nothing's wrong here. Macy, are you sure you don't need any help? I'm fine. If I can't handle this alone, I won't survive in this business. So, Dad, please relax at home today. Okay. I'll call you after it's all over. I see, but call me right away if something comes up. I will. Don't worry. Thanks, Dad. Bye for now. She ended the call abruptly. Still, I couldn't shake off my worry, thinking about Macy managing everything alone. I felt restless and uneasy. No, I can't. I have to go, I murmured to myself. I hurriedly got ready and left the house. I got in the car and drove straight to Macy's restaurant. When I arrived, the area around the restaurant was still quiet, with no customers in sight. Maybe I came too early, but people would show up soon enough. Thinking I could lend a hand and also greet her former colleagues, I decided to step inside. Macy, are you here? Sorry, I couldn't help but come. Inside the restaurant was empty, and Macy was standing alone behind the counter. Macy, what's wrong? Did something happen? I called out to her, and she slowly turned to face me. Dad, her voice trembled, and tears welled up in her eyes. I rushed over to her side instinctively. Macy, what's going on? Weren't your former coworkers supposed to be here today? Something was clearly amiss. The seats were already set with large platters of food. The preparations seemed perfect, yet no one had arrived. What happened? It had to be something serious. When I pressed her for an answer, Macy began speaking haltingly, tears streaming down her face. Just now, Sam called. Sam? Oh, your former manager, right? The one who made the reservation for the party. Yeah, but he said the party is canceled. He told me no one wants to celebrate a loser like me who quit the bank, and then he hung up. Unable to hold it in any longer, Macy broke down in tears. What he said, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After all the effort Macy had put into her preparations, this was a cruel and unjust blow. A fire of anger ignited in my heart. Macy, wait here. I took out my cell phone and called the headquarters of the bank where Macy used to work. Dad, what are you doing? Just leave this to me, Macy said, but I silenced her worried protests with a firm look. After a few rings, a young receptionist answered the phone. Hello, could you connect me to Mr. Iverson, the president of the bank? May I ask who's calling? The receptionist's tone grew cautious, and she asked again, sounding slightly wary. I paused for a moment and cleared my throat deliberately. Apologies, my name is Keith Ashford. Could you please connect me to Mr. Henry Iverson, the bank president? The moment I said that, her attitude shifted dramatically. Mr. Ashford, my deepest apologies. I'll connect you to President Iverson immediately. Her flustered reaction was clear, even over the phone. Please hold on a moment, she said in a hurried voice before the hold music began to play. Not long after, a familiar voice came on the line. Henry Iverson, the president of the bank where Macy used to work, and an old friend of mine from our college days, was on the other end of the line. Keith, what's going on? It's rare for you to call the bank directly like this. I've got some things to discuss, Henry. You sound upset. What's the matter, Keith? Henry seemed to pick up on the anger in my voice right away. I took a deep breath to steady myself before speaking. It's serious. I need to talk to you in person. I'll send you the location, my daughter's restaurant. Come immediately. Understood. I'll be there soon. After confirming his response, I hung up. Dad, what was that about? Are you saying Mr. Iverson is coming here? Macy asked, clearly surprised. Don't worry about it, Macy. Let me handle this. I'll explain everything later. Reassuring her as best as I could, I sat and waited quietly for Henry to arrive. About half an hour later, the door to the restaurant opened, and Henry appeared, slightly out of breath. It was clear he had rushed to get here. Keith, what's going on? What's going on? I echoed, standing up. Your employee canceled a 30-person reservation at the last minute. 30 people. Henry's eyes widened in shock. He immediately turned to Macy, who was standing behind the counter, still processing the situation. This is completely unacceptable. I sincerely apologize for what happened. Mr. Iverson, how do you know my dad? Macy asked, her confusion evident as she looked between the two of us. Well, I said, deciding it was time to reveal what I kept quiet for so long. Henry and I go way back. We were college classmates. What? Really? Macy's voice rose in surprise. Henry smiled warmly at her. You might not remember, but I've met you a few times when you were a little girl. Wait, does that mean? Macy trailed off, her expression tightening as if a sudden realization had struck her. But Henry shook his head reassuringly. No, your position at the bank was entirely your own doing. It was purely coincidental, and your success there was all because of your talent. Please don't worry about that. Oh, I see, Macy said, exhaling a small sigh of relief. But another question seemed to trouble her, and she tilted her head with a puzzled expression. But would you really come all this way just because you're old friends? Ha ha, that's not the only reason. Keith is a significant figure for our bank. Dad, what does he mean? Macy turned to me, clearly bewildered. I took a deep breath, preparing to finally disclose what I had kept hidden. Macy, there's something I haven't told you. A long time ago, I ran a business. I was the CEO. After I married your mom, I sold the company to help fund her dream. Since then, I've been managing investments in various fields, and the main bank I've worked with all these years is Henry's. What? Really? I had no idea. Macy stared at me, her eyes wide with astonishment. I smiled apologetically. I'm sorry, Macy. The truth is, I could have provided the funds for the restaurant's operations right away, but you chose your own path and accomplished all of this through your own hard work. I'm proud of you." Macy shook her head gently and gave me a smile in return. "Thank you, Dad, for always watching over me. They say struggles when you're young are worth it. I think because of those experiences, I've been able to come this far. But to have such a big failure right from the start," as if remembering everything, her face clouded with sadness. I shot a sharp glance at Henry, who immediately leaned forward, looking at Macy with concern. "Macy, I'm deeply sorry for this. Could you tell me the name of the employee who canceled the reservation?" "Oh, yes, it was Sam, my former branch manager. He's the one who made the reservation too." "I see." Henry nodded thoughtfully, a perceptive look crossing his face. I had also begun to sense something suspicious after hearing Macy's account. "Henry, what do you think?" "Honestly, I smell something fishy." "Funny. I think so too," he replied. "What do you mean?" Macy asked, her voice tinged with worry. Henry gave a small smile. "Let's get to the bottom of this. Macy, would you mind if I called in here right now?" "What? But I mean—" "Macy, it's okay. Let's trust Henry on this," I said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Hesitant, Macy looked at me and then gave a small nod. "Okay, if you say so, Dad." "Great, then it's decided," Henry said with a calm smile as he started dialing. He was calling Macy's former branch. "Hello, this is Henry. Tell Sam to come to my location immediately. Let him know it's Macy's restaurant. This is urgent, so please make it happen quickly." With an authoritative tone, Henry ended the call. Not long after, the restaurant door opened, and a man appeared. It was Sam, his face tense, with beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "Sam." Macy looked uneasy seeing him, but Sam seemed too flustered about being summoned by Henry to notice. "Mr. Iverson, what are you doing here?" Sam asked. "I need to ask you something. Why did you cancel the reservation for this restaurant today?" "Well, under Henry's piercing gaze, Sam swallowed hard. "Actually, several employees who were supposed to attend reported feeling unwell. And, we had no choice but to cancel." Sam's face was dripping with sweat as he tried to escape Henry's gaze. I was convinced this bastard was lying. Henry seemed to reach the same conclusion, his voice rising in exaggerated surprise. "That's terrible. In that case, I should personally visit these sick employees to offer my regards. Sam, could you give me a complete list of their names?" "No, that won't be necessary. It's really nothing serious." Oh, then there was no reason to cancel the entire reservation, was there? And surely not all 30 attendees fell ill. "Well, Sam's stammering was so evident it was infuriating to listen to. I sighed deeply and turned to Henry. "Henry, enough. This is getting us nowhere." "You're right. Okay, let's get confirmation from someone else. Macy, can you call one of your trusted former colleagues? Put it on speaker so we can all hear what—" "Oh, okay," Macy said, still hesitant. She pulled out her phone and started dialing. After a few rings, a cheerful woman's voice came through the phone. "Macy, it's rare for you to call. What's up?" Now, Natalie, I'm sorry to bother you suddenly, but I need to ask you something." "Sure, what is it?" The woman Macy called, Natalie, sounded completely unaware of the situation. At that moment, I became certain of something. It seemed Macy also started to understand what was going on. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Macy nervously began to speak. "Well, there was supposed to be a party today at my restaurant with everyone from the branch." Did you know about it?" "Natalie, a party? No, I haven't heard anything about that." "Wait, what? A party at your restaurant today? You're kidding. Who's organizing this?" "It was Sam who made the reservation, but he said everyone who was supposed to attend got sick, so it had to be canceled." "What? That's ridiculous. No one's called in sick today, and everyone's perfectly healthy. Unbelievable. What on earth is Sam thinking? This is absurd. Her indignant voice echoed through the restaurant. I let out a heavy sigh, muttering, I knew it, as Henry shrugged in exasperation beside us. Sam shrank like a frog cornered by a snake. Just then, another voice came through the phone. Macy, can you hear me? It's Sean. A young man's voice this time. Shan, judging by the conversation, seemed to be one of Macy's colleagues. Sounding urgent, he called out to Macy from the other end of the line. Natalie and I are coming to the restaurant right now. Wait for us. Hey, wait. Sean, sorry. We'll be there soon. With the sound of commotion on the other end, the call abruptly ended. Macy, she whispered, her tears welling up as she sank to the floor, overwhelmed. I'm glad for you, Macy. Yeah, I'm so relieved. I thought everyone hated me. Supporting her gently by the shoulders, I patted her back softly a few times. Before long, the restaurant door burst open with a loud bang. Macy, are you okay? Shan, and Natalie too. Macy looked up, her face lighting up with a mixture of relief and joy. Macy, I'm so sorry. We were all planning to celebrate your opening after you settled in, but I had no idea this would happen. Out of breath, the two hurried to Macy's side, sparing only a brief, sharp glare at Sam, who was cowering in the corner. By the way, what is Sam doing here? When the topic of celebrating Macy's opening came up, he said he wouldn't participate and that we should do whatever we wanted. Sam, care to explain yourself? Both of them turned on Sam with stern voices, making him squirm uncomfortably under their scrutiny. Finally, he gave in and began to speak. Well, I was just messing around. Macy's dream of running her own place seemed so naive, so I thought I'd give her a dose of reality. I just wanted to show her how the real world works. Sam's words came out as if he were trying to justify his actions. At that moment, something inside me snapped. What did you just say? I stepped forward, closing the distance between us, my anger boiling over. You think you can teach someone about reality. Any dream that's achieved becomes reality. Don't you get that? Dad, stop, please. Macy stepped in to stop me just as I grabbed Sam by the collar and raised my fist. Dad, I'm okay now. It's fine, Macy said. Macy's right. Keith, calm down. Sorry, I released Sam from my grip, prompted by Henry's calm but firm rebuke. Henry sighed, a mix of exasperation and relief on his face. Macy, I'm sorry for all the trouble caused. Take this, please. Henry pulled out a check from his pocket and handed it to Macy. Even from a distance, it was clear the amount was substantial. Macy immediately shook her head, flustered. I can't accept this, it's far too much. It's fine. Consider any extra as my contribution to celebrate your opening. Or is it not enough? Henry smiled and placed a second check, equally substantial, on top of the first, gently but insistently pushing both into Macy's hands. I'll organize a proper celebration for your grand opening another day, hosted by me. For now, why don't you invite family and friends to enjoy the food and mark this day? It would be a shame to let the dishes go to waste. Henry then turned to Sam. Oh, and Sam, you're coming with me. We'll have a little chat. Yes, sir. Henry's smile remained, but the unspoken authority behind it was impossible to ignore. Well, we'll be off now, he said, escorting a defeated-looking Sam out of the restaurant. Wow, Mr. Iverson is incredible. Hey, Macy, since he suggested it, can I call my husband to come to the restaurant now? Of course, Macy. I'll reach out to some of our colleagues from other branches. It's been ages since we've all gathered. Everyone would love to come. Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, Sean. Surrounded by her former co-workers, Macy's smile began to return, and I felt a wave of relief. I'm so glad for you, Macy. I murmured to myself, lightly touching the wedding ring still on my left hand. If my wife were here, she'd surely be standing beside me, watching over Macy with pride and love. A few days later, thanks to Henry's initiative, many people from the bank gathered at Macy's restaurant for a proper celebration. The restaurant was alive with laughter and light conversations. Macy, this is incredible. I can't believe you've opened such a beautiful restaurant. My husband came by the other day and loved it. He's planning to bring his colleagues next time. Really? That's wonderful. Thank you so much. The food here is so comforting. I'm sure you'll have regulars in no time. I'll probably become one myself. Thank you. Shan, if you do come, I'll make sure to treat you to something special. Macy chatted happily with her former colleagues, her joy palpable. Sitting a little away from the lively group, I sipped my drink, watching Macy's radiant smile warm my heart. Hey, you enjoying yourself? Henry suddenly appeared beside me, holding out his glass. Yeah, thanks to you. That's good to hear. We clinked glasses lightly, and Henry drained his wine in one go before placing a hand on my shoulder. Keith, I really am sorry about what happened the other day. Don't worry about it. I'd admit I might have overreacted a bit, but when it comes to Macy, I can't help myself. I knew I was overly protective of Macy, but I couldn't help it. She's my wife, my one and only daughter, more precious to me than life itself. Smiling wryly at my own sentimentality, I downed another sip of my drink. So, what happened to Sam afterward? I asked. He left the bank. After all this, he'd made too many enemies, I think, Henry replied with a laugh. You mean he wasn't fired? I asked, curious. Henry chuckled lightly, his tone playful. Who knows? What do you think? His smile was calm, but there was something inscrutable in Henry's gaze. I wouldn't put anything past this man, but I decided to leave it at that. Well, it's fine. In the end, Macy's restaurant opened successfully, and everyone's gathered here. Thank you, Henry. Oh, don't mention it. I just set the stage. It's all thanks to Macy's hard work. You're absolutely right, I agreed, raising my glass. We clinked glasses and shared a laugh together. The warm atmosphere of the restaurant resonated with the laughter of friends and family. I found myself wishing this moment could last forever. Time passed, and Macy's restaurant grew more and more successful. Henry, along with Macy's former colleagues, began frequenting the restaurant often, bringing family and friends. The place was always bustling with customers. In the evenings, the restaurant was filled with light conversations and laughter, creating a cozy and inviting ambience. Among Macy's regular visitors were Natalie and Sean, who seemed particularly close to her. They often shared drinks with us, becoming familiar faces at the restaurant. Wait, so Macy's dream of running her own restaurant was also your late wife's dream? Natalie exclaimed, pouring me another drink. And mine too. Macy made that dream come true, and I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you, Macy. I turned to Macy, who was standing behind the counter, her face softly illuminated by the warm lights. I couldn't have done it without you, Dad, she said. And Natalie, Sean, thank you both for coming so often. Sean, you're practically here every day, aren't you? Macy grinned as she refilled Sean's empty glass with beer. He scratched his head sheepishly. Well, yeah, the food here is just so good. Thanks. It's all from recipes Mom taught me. Right, Dad? Yep, that's right. I nodded, glancing at Sean, who was looking intently at Macy. When I glanced at Natalie, she shrugged playfully, as if confirming my suspicions. Ah, so that's how it is, I thought, feeling a twinge of mixed emotions. Still, I told myself it was a good thing. Sean, I called out. Yes, sir, he responded quickly, turning toward me with a nervous expression. Seeing his flustered face, I couldn't help but recall the time I met my wife's parents for the first time. Suddenly, I felt like rooting for him. Well, do your best. I'll tell you this, Macy's not the most perceptive in that regard. You'll have your work cut out for you. Sean seemed to understand what I was saying when he said, I'll do my best. His cheeks reddening, he nodded resolutely. I sipped another drink cheerfully, thinking what a simple and good-natured young man. Seeing Macy's dream come true with the help of so many amazing individuals made me very happy. Gently, the restaurant's soft lights flickered. I gulped back the tears that tried to spill, and it seemed as though my late wife was keeping watch over us. Hi, are you observing? I clasped the wedding ring with my left hand and said to my wife in my heart, Macy made her dream come true.